We've seen that Satan has persecuted the church from Revelation 11:7 to 10. However, we know that Satan was ultimately unable to defeat the church. So he now gathers the armies of Rome against Israel. Many of the armies of the nations that have come against Israel have been described as being as numerous as the sand on the seashore. Thus, we have the Jewish War, which lasted from 66 to 73 AD or 67 to 74 AD, depending on your sources. And just when the armies are about to destroy Israel, we are told that fire comes down from heaven and does it. John wants to make sure that people understand God and his Christ have destroyed Jerusalem. In the Wars Book 6, chapter 9, section 1, Josephus describes Titus's view of what took place. Now, when Titus was come into this upper city, he admired not only some other places of strength in it, but particularly those strong towers, which the tyrants in their mad conduct have relinquished. For when he saw their solid altitude, and the largeness of their several stones, and the exactness of their joints, as also how great their breadth and how extensive their length, he expressed himself after the manner following: We have certainly had God for our assistant in this war, and it was no other than God who ejected the Jews out of these fortifications. For what could the hands of men or any machines do towards overthrowing these towers? Another plausible explanation for verses 7 through 9 is that the church is the city, the New Jerusalem that God loves. If this is the case, then the point being made is that Israel is now as much a part of the world as the rest of the Roman Empire, because of all the persecutions that Israel, also described as a people as numerous as the sand on the seashore, brought on the prophets and the saints. Israel was now being punished by God. Jerusalem was destroyed and the whole city set ablaze by God. God sent the Romans just as he had sent the Babylonians to destroy Jerusalem and the temple. Now we hone in on Daniel's 70th week, Daniel 9:21 to 27, and the 1290 to 1335 days in Daniel 12:11 to 13. Some have argued that the period from 63 to 70 AD is the 70th week in Daniel. It's neat, and it is a possibility, but I think another contender, and possibly the best fit for the 70th week of Daniel, is the 7-year period of the Jewish War. In Daniel 9:26, we're told that the people of the prince will come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. That prince was Titus, the son of Vespasian, who was Caesar in 70 AD when Jerusalem was destroyed. In Daniel 9:27, we are told that at the midway point of the 70th week, the temple will be destroyed. Come on, come on. If you are not seeing the truth now, you are denying the truth's imploration on your conscience. Now, Daniel 12:11 says, from the time the daily sacrifice is abolished and the abomination that causes desolation is set up, there will be 1290 days. Verse 12 says, blessed is the one who waits for and reaches the 1335 days. In 66 AD, sometime in the month of Elul, Eleazar, the governor of the temple, and his son Ananias, the high priest, persuaded the officials to cease to allow foreigners to make sacrifices. This brought an end to those particular daily sacrifices as prophesied in Daniel 12:11. Now there is the matter of the 1290 days from that point to some abominable occurrence. The Jewish calendar consisted of 30-day months, so 1290 days would be 3.5 years plus a month, or 43 months. Now every 2 to 3 years, Adar Shenai, which was the second month of Adar, was added to the lunar calendar so as to correspond to the solar year. Now during the war there were 3 main factions fighting within Jerusalem. There was Eleazar, the son of Simon, who was leader of the Zealots. There was John of Gischala and his band of men, and then there was Simon Bar Giora, who had the largest following. These factions were all fighting each other and slaying innocent people within the city. Vespasian, Titus and the Roman armies sat outside the city and allowed them to kill each other before attacking. If you do the math, 43 months from Elul brings us to Adar or Nisan, the time of Passover. During this time, John of Jeshala and his men murdered the priests and all others conducting sacrifices on the altar. This shedding of priests' blood on the altar was the correlating act to Antiochus IV Epiphanes shedding pig's blood on the altar years previous. Of this act done by John of Geshala's men, we have the following written by Josephus. For thou couldst no longer be a place fit for God, nor couldst thou long continue in being, after thou hadst been a sepulchre for the bodies of thy own people, and hadst made the holy house itself a burying place in the civil war of thine. There were several abominable acts to choose from during this time, but since Josephus describes this act as the one that makes the city no longer a place fit for God, this would seem to fit best. Now we just have to make it to the 1335 days of Daniel 12:12. I believe this is a reference to the appeals made by Titus and Josephus to the people in Jerusalem to surrender. Some did come out. The most famous among them was Johanna ben Zakkai, who escaped in a coffin and saved his life by predicting that one day Titus would be an emperor as well. And he was, reigning from 79 to 81 AD. Now, we see Daniel's 70th week in context. As Don K. Preston said recently, it is important that we do not allow theology to define words, because that practice is called eisegesis, where we imbue a text with our own presuppositions, agendas and biases. Don K. Preston said it best when he said, if we could excise our Hellenistic bizarro idea of Jesus riding in on a literal cumulus cloud, there would be no debate today. Everyone would be a full-blown preterist if it were not for that one silly idea. Ultimately, that's hinged upon this Hellenistic and strange perspective that's so divorced from a comprehensive Hebraic view of these matters. If we had that comprehensive Hebraic view, the debate would be settled. So I've been charged with spiritualizing, so then I show you the history, and then I'm charged with historicism, which is a strange one considering we're talking about matters of prophecy. But then, if people like ourselves saw Jesus excising demons, and then call him a high priest of Satan, then it just goes to show that nothing can convince us if we resist. There is nothing that can come up against that human resistance. But let me ask you something. What is it that you are resisting? Okay, a narrative of victory, Jesus' enthronement over everything, and free access to the water of life. If you stand in defiance of these things, that water of life is not accessed by you or anyone. Jesus Christ has not established his new covenant kingdom. That hasn't happened. We're still under the law of Moses, okay? Without a temple, which doesn't make any sense, and there's no suitable apologetics to make any sense of that mess if you're a futurist. There is nothing you can say that makes sense, okay? For your futurist ideas to still be in place, we need to be back then in the 1st century with the temple standing and old covenant Mosaic laws still being adhered to. But we can't live in that time because there's no temple. The old system is done away with. It's not there anymore. The temple has been destroyed. There is no Israel anymore. It is finished. It is done. There is no covenant Israel. It still exists politically, but the covenant now extends to everyone. This is the new covenant age. And everyone is invited to drink of that water of life. I'm going to ask everyone who doesn't agree with Preterism to comb over their presuppositions carefully. And I'll meet you in the comments. God bless you all.